Once again, ladies and gentlemen, come on inside. We're going to start the show. Oh, yes. Come inside, one and all. Come inside. Let's start it up. Lots to talk about tonight. All right, come on inside. It's 6:31. We want to get going. Let's get going. Everybody come inside. It's looking good, but if everyone can take their seats. Take their seats at this time. You're doing good. You're doing good. Come on in, though. Have a seat. Have a seat. We want to start this up. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to get going. Everyone have a seat. We got to get going here. Have a seat, have a seat, have a seat, have a seat. Come in, come in, come in, come in. We want to get our program going. We want to get some food. We want to get some information. Have a seat, have a seat, have a seat. Come on, come on, come on. We can do it. We can do it. Have a seat. Have a seat. Great turnout tonight. Love it. Love it. But let's get everyone seated at this time. All right, guys, we gotta sit down. We gotta get going here. We gotta get going. I know people are hungry for food, hungry for information. Have a seat. Have a seat. Once again, guys, we're almost ready. Have a seat.
This is not on. There we go.
All right, guys, it's looking good. Have a seat. Have a seat. Everybody back here, grab a seat.
If people could please take their seats, please take your seats, please take your seats. Thank you so much.
It's still not a light.
Can you see? No.
Tricky with those lights in our eyes.
All right, welcome, welcome, welcome to DuPage County. Ramadan Mubarak to our Muslim guests. Bienvenidos a los asistentes que hablan español. I'm Reed McCollum, chair of the DuPage Dems.
And I'm Diane McGuire, first vice chair.
We're going to begin tonight's program with a few interfaith blessings from Dr. Sabil Ahmed, the executive director of Gain Peace Project, Paul Farber of Congregation at Time, Reverend Dr. Beth Johnson of the Unitarian Church of Hinsdale, and Pastor Scott Oberle of the First Congregational United Church of Christ in Downers Grove. So if our folks giving the blessings want to come on up.
Good evening. Good evening. It is good to be with you. I'm going to invite us into this moment with a breath and a prayer as a blessing. So I'm going to invite you to go ahead and take a breath with me as we find ourselves seated, gathered together. Invite us to experience the breath as a prayer, knowing that the breath and the Spirit is as close as the Spirit of life. It is the Spirit of life. The Spirit is our breath. Pneuma, ruach, ruh. We breathe in and out, knowing ourselves connected to each other, to the Spirit of life and the Spirit of love. Beloved, in a time when we are holding our breaths, or our hearts are beating fast as we're breathing and hyperventilating in these times, in the face of each affront and each atrocity, or when the breath just seems like it's stilled, invite us to pause and deepen our breath, connecting with the breath of life. In a time when the breath is being stolen from our beloveds, from our neighbors, near and far, may we use our breath to speak out, to offer words of comfort and words of challenge. May we use our breath to speak truth to power and power to truth. May we speak words of compassion and courage. With every breath that we're granted, may we give thanks and let our breath be our prayer. May we remember this gift, this breath, this life, and use it in the service of all beings. May it be so. Amen and Amen.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I greet all of you with the Islamic greeting of Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon all of you. My name is Sabil Ahmed. And it so happened that I was fasting for the last 5 days. I was driving with my sister in Skokie, and she asked me, okay, Sabil, why are those men walking on the street? They have those ashes, some marks on their forehead. I mentioned to her that they are Catholics and they are going through the festival of Lent. So, something unique happened this Ramadan that never happened since President Abraham Lincoln was in White House. For the very first time since 1863, Ramadan and Lent and the start of the lunar calendars happen on the same day. The next time it will happen, yeah, why not? Yes. Yeah. Something you can share with your family. Yes. So when I'm fasting, many prayers come to my mind. So first and foremost, we Muslims, the 2 billion Muslims, you are fasting because it's an obligation God has given to us, just like our Catholic friends and Christian friends. Secondly, this was also a tradition of all the prophets and all the messengers. Like for Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, when he received the 10 commandments, it says in the book of Exodus that he was in the state of fasting. We say we follow that. Jesus, peace be upon him, according to Matthew chapter 4, verse number 2, he also fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. So we say we also follow him. But fasting is not just from food and water. Fasting is also from fasting from any wrong things that we should not be doing. Backbiting and lying and cheating, cutting people off on the road, right? Yeah, why not? Any wrong things we should not be doing. And fasting is also from all the good things we should be multiplying in the society. And lastly, fasting also gives us that empathy. Just like in the US, unfortunately, there are 50 million fellow Americans who are below the poverty line. They don't have enough to eat. So when we are fasting for like 12 hours, 15, 20 hours, we can actually feel how they feel, putting ourselves in their shoes. That should make us, reaching out to them, the poor, the less fortunate. So ultimately, fasting makes us a better human, a better spouse, a better family member, and yes, a better neighbor. So my prayer on behalf of the Muslim community, behalf of Islam would be that, oh God, help us to live as brothers and sisters in this wonderful humanity, in this wonderful family. That, oh God, help us to make decisions and policies which are just and fair and equitable to every single member of the society. And oh God, give us the courage, give us the education, and give us humanity that all of us, no matter anywhere injustice, genocide, oppression is going on, give us the courage so we can stand up as Muslim, as humans, as neighbors, as members of this human family. Amen. Ameen. Thank you.
First of all, thank you all for being invested in democracy and in your country. Celebrate the Olympians today, Team USA and the gold medal. It's also a great honor to be here with and across faiths with brothers and sisters reflecting. In the scriptures, there's a passage in the book of Micah that says that God's vision is that everyone will sit under their own vine and their own fig tree, and no one will make them afraid anymore. My prayer for us as a people is that kindness will usurp cruelty, politics of fear-mongering, belittling, and finger-pointing will be replaced by measuring each person in our communities from sea to sea on the value of their human dignity, the things that connect us and hold us together, and the love that binds us as people. That those who represent us would represent all of us without exception. I'd like to offer a very simple prayer for every person, however they may express their faith tradition this day, for the hands that have grown the food in the farmlands, for the hands that have prepared it, for those who serve it, and for us gathered together this night in faith, hope, and love, expressed through speech, through freedoms, through our God-given inherent value, each one from the hairs of our head to the toes of our feet. May we lead with love in all things, whoever we are, wherever we come from, as a people together united. Amen.
Shalom Aleichem. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'achiyonu v'kiyamonu v'higiyonu lazman hazeh. Blessed art you, our God, King of the universe, who has given us life, sustained us, and brought us to this moment. Tonight we gather not simply to share a meal, but to share responsibility. In our tradition, we are taught that every human being is created in B'Tselem Elohim, in the image of God. That means every voice carries dignity, every life carries infinite worth, and every community carries the sacred work of building a more just and compassionate society. We give thanks for the freedom to assemble, for the privilege of debate, for the ability to disagree without losing sight of one another's humanity. May our conversations be guided by wisdom, may our leadership be guided by conscience, and may our service be guided by humility. And may we remember that the measure of any society is how it treats the most vulnerable among it. And now we share together that it may remind us that nourishment, physical and moral, is something we create together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min ha'oretz. Blessed art thou, O God, King of the universe, who brings forth bread from the earth. Amen.
Feel free to enjoy the evening. We have the lights out, so it kind of feels like a drive-in theater. So dinner's going to be served throughout. We have a lot of fantastic speakers, but before we celebrate tonight, I want to take a moment just to name something real. A lot of us are carrying heavy grief, anxiety, and fear right now about our communities, our nation, and about what's been going on all over the world. For many in this room, that includes the devastation in Israel and Gaza and the unconscionable suffering of civilians. Across the United States and here in DuPage County, ICE is terrorizing communities, violating the Constitution, and murdering protesters in cold blood. What brings us together in this room, despite our differences, is a sense of purpose to fight back and to stop the rising tide of fascism. But more than that, what brings us together is the belief that a government of the people, by the people, and for the people can actually help people. Help working families afford rent and groceries, provide access to health care to every single American, to govern based on the truth that every human life has equal dignity. We are here tonight because we believe that the status quo wasn't good enough before Donald Trump, and it won't be good enough after Donald Trump. In James Baldwin's 1963 essay, A Talk to Teachers, he says, "The obligation of anyone who thinks of himself as responsible is to examine society and try to change it and to fight it, and no matter what risk. This is the only hope society has. This is the only way societies change. That is why you are here tonight."
And we are also, let's get this microphone right. We are also commemorating Black History Month this month, and we lost one of our most important leaders for the civil rights movement this week, the Reverend Jesse Jackson. But Jesse Jackson's legacy will live on in countless ways. It's up to us to carry on his legacy. Raise your hand if you've attended a protest in this last year or two. I see so many hands. That's wonderful. And we're going to have a little protest chant tonight. Since the very first days after Trump took office, we've seen literally hundreds of protests across DuPage County and the entire country. Many of you have protested at the Broadview ICE facility. DPDC even organized a protest last year that stretched for 30 miles from Aurora to a little village called Hands Across Chicagoland, and give Reed a hand for that. These protests are important and they've made a difference. So we're going to get into that protest spirit right now with one of my favorite chants. Now I'm going to get my megaphone out and I need you all to participate. And this was a gift from Reed 9 years ago. Okay, are you all ready? I'm going to say this.
We'll do it into the mic. Do it over there.
You told me to say like right here. I hope this megaphone amplifies. Oh, closer to me? Okay. Reed knows how this one works. Ready? Okay. The chant goes like this. No hate. Repeat. No hate. No KKK.
No KKK.
No fascist USA.
No fascist USA.
Okay, let's do it again. No
No
hate.
hate. No.
No KKK. No fascist USA. Thank you. All righty. We're also here tonight to raise funds for our mission to elect Democrats up and down the ballot in every election across DuPage County this fall. With your support, we can elect the first Democratic sheriff in DuPage since 1845. We can expand the Democratic majority on the DuPage County Board to 17-1. We can flip 4 state legislative districts, flip the treasurer's office, the regional office of education superintendent, and another forest preserve district.
All right, we have a lot of people to recognize. First of all, we'd like to thank the fabulous wait staff and everyone in Drury Lane. We'd like to acknowledge our incredibly generous gala sponsors. Please hold your applause until the end of each sponsorship level. Our diamond sponsor this evening is Laborers Local 68 and Joe Riley. Our friends in labor are critically important to the coalition. Give it up for organized labor. Our gold sponsors are Senator Christina Castro, Congressman Bill Foster, Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy, Congressman Sean Casten, Senate President Don Harmon, candidate for U.S. Senate Kevin Ryan, candidate for Congress Joey Rusevich, Lake County Treasurer and candidate for Comptroller Holly Kim, State Rep and candidate for Comptroller Margaret Croak, and the Progressive Turnout Project. Let's give it up for our gold sponsors. Our silver sponsors this evening are the International Union of Operating Engineers Local 150, the Illinois Democratic County Chairs Association. The Chair of Chairs, Mark Gately, is in the house. Thanks to our silver sponsors. Our blue page sponsors, the Democratic Party of Illinois, Attorney General Kwame Raoul, Congressman Chuy Garcia, candidate for Congress Patty Garcia, Senator Linda Holmes, State Representative and candidate for State Central Committee in the 11th Congressional District, Janet Yang Rohr, candidate for State Rep Jared Plodger, candidate for the Appellate Court, Judge John Pavich, the West Suburban Teachers Union, Local 571, the Electricians, IBW Local 701, Naperville Unit PAC for Education, the Illinois Muslim Political Action Committee Impact is here. We're grateful for the sponsorship of the Justice Coalition, Med Global and Suzanne Akris, Greg Chaika, our DPDC Vice Chair of Union Relations, Kim and Benny White, Deborah and Dennis Dean, Lindsay Kokoris, and Wade M. and Eileen M. Kennedy.
And we also want to recognize our other DPDC officers, Bobby Hernandez, Greg Chaka, Mark Walensky, Sheila Rutledge, and Yina Yu. Give them a round of applause. And an event like this cannot happen without the hard work of incredible volunteers. Please help us thank all the volunteers helping here today, especially Jennifer Zordani orchestrated all the beautiful centerpieces, and finally the person without whose tireless efforts an event like tonight would not be possible, our amazing Executive Director, Sarah Smith-Velez.
Diane, I think we have just a couple elected officials here with us this evening. I've already mentioned a number of them who are sponsors this evening, and in addition to our sponsors and the elected officials who are speakers, I'm going to acknowledge a few of the elected officials in the room individually. We have Illinois Supreme Court Justice Mary Kay O'Brien here with us this evening. I believe Congresswoman from Ohio, Joyce Beatty, is here. Appellate Court Justice Lance Peterson is here. Appellate Court Justice Linda Davenport is here. State Senator Linda Holmes. State Senator Susie Glowiak Hilton. State Senator Laura Ellman. State Rep Marty Deuter. State Rep Margaret Della Rosa. State Rep Nabila Syed. And Will and DuPage County AAPI Caucus. So in addition to those folks, we have State Central Committee members, DNC Youth Council delegates, Young Democrats of Illinois leaders, Township Democratic Organization chairs, township supervisors, trustees, clerks, highway commissioners, library board trustees, mayors, city council members, municipal clerks, school board members, county board members, forest preserve commissioners, judges, county coroners, auditors, clerks of court, park board members, and precinct committee people. If you are an elected official in any capacity, please stand up to be applauded. All elected officials. I still have, that's me still. Woo! To be in the arena is one of the most selfless things that you can do. And along with being an elected official, running for elected office is one of the most absolutely insane and important things that a human being can do. We have a lot of candidates with us. Whether or not you're already an elected official, if you are running for anything as a candidate, please stand up and be applauded. All candidates.
And finally, we have a 50-50 raffle tonight. And maybe you saw me at the front door. I didn't let you get by, did I? By now, many of you have already purchased a ticket or two. If each of us in the room, and there are more than 750 of us, buys even one ticket sometime during the program, we can end up splitting a $15,000 pot. Now, wouldn't that be fun? The drawing will be at the conclusion of our program. You can buy tickets at the check-in in the lobby and at the table in the back of this ballroom, or by scanning the QR code that is in your program. In addition, we'll also have volunteers walking around, and you'll see them with their balloons hanging out of their little pots. Those are ticket sellers. So these raffle tickets will help us to fund the campaigns that we're going to wage and the effort we're going to put in place to elect Democratic candidates up and down that ballot in November of 26. Maybe you will be the lucky winner.
All right. And speaking of incredible speakers, we're excited to have our keynote speaker with us this evening. David Hogg is one of the leading voices of the progressive movement. We are so excited that he's here. Our first speaker needs no introduction. Not long ago, DuPage County was one of the most Republican counties in the country. few people deserve more credit for turning DuPage blue. Since becoming county board chair in 2022, she's balanced the budget, opened a life-saving crisis recovery center, and removed Henry Hyde's name from the county courthouse. Please welcome Chair Deb Conroy.
Okay, wow, that light is bright. First and foremost, please, let's hear it for Reed and Diane. The amount of work they did for tonight is unbelievable. So, you know, I thought about tonight, and when I was standing in line, I was talking to Judge Mia McPherson, and Mia said to me, Deb, do you remember when there were maybe 24 people at this event? And I said, hell yeah, I do. I really do. But what I want to tell you tonight is it is officially a new day in DuPage County. We are no longer working on becoming blue. We have candidates that work so hard. We have a bench to be something that we should all be incredibly proud of. There are so many people on our bench, and there are people that don't even know they're on our bench yet. So when you go back to 2010, when DuPage County was the second reddest county in the country, and you think about all the work that everyone in this room was doing, but they felt they were alone. You felt like there were no other Democrats in DuPage County back then. I remember when I came out of the closet, it was quite a scandal. It was quite a scandal. Some of the Lee Daniels and Dan Cronin's of the world said, Deb Conroy's a what? They did not know what to do with themselves. But I'm going to ask each and every one of you to take that energy that we all felt when we were fighting alone. Look around this room. We are not alone anymore. And boy, oh boy, we need to take the energy from that original fight because our fight right now is huge. We have so much at stake in this next election. We cannot sit down. We need to stay in the streets, just like Grace. I don't know how many of you guys here know who Grace is, but whenever someone asked me over the last difficult year and a half, anytime anybody asked me, what can we do? I said, go do what Grace did. Grace stood on the corner in Elmhurst by herself on a Saturday at 1 o'clock. And you know how many people show up now? Hundreds. And occasionally thousands. So if we all keep doing what Grace does, love will win over hate and truth will win over lies. So let's stick together, guys, because this is the best place to be. DuPage Democrats, I'm damn proud to be one of you.
Oh, yes. Our next speaker is chair of the Democratic Party of Illinois, state representative and state central committee woman, Lisa Hernandez.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm so glad to be here in DuPage County in a room full of charged up, hardworking Democrats. Feel it in the air, no doubt about it. DuPage County knows how to show up and do the work, and the record proves it. Right before me, I had the person that was just standing here. I had the honor at one point to work with Representative Deb Conroy at that time. But wow, ever since she left the assembly, for her to become the first Democrat in nearly 100 years, holy cow, and the first woman on top of that, very well deserved. Let's give her another hand. I want to just give you a shout out, Deb, and thank you for everything you've been doing and you're going to do for DuPage and in Illinois. Deb's leadership is proof that change happens at the local level. Now, when I think about County Dem Chair Reed McCollum, you'd be hard-pressed to find a more engaged committee party leader than Reed. That's right. Let me tell you a little bit about Reed. Last August, for example, Reed showed that national politics happens in our backyard. When Texas Democrats came to Illinois to protest Republicans who wanted to cheat voters just to please Donald Trump, who did folks call and where did they touch down? They called Reed. And they held their first presser here in the DuPage County Dems office. Yes. That's Reed. But let's take it further back to last spring. DPI worked closely with leaders like Deb and Reed during last year's municipal election. Out of the 280 candidates the Democratic Party of Illinois supported, 222 were elected. That was nearly an 80% success rate. And DuPage turned out to be one of the most exciting stories of this cycle. John Laish brought progressive change to Aurora. Bobby, where are you, Bobby Hernandez? Became the first Latino elected official in Addison Township as supervisor. Voters elected Maria Secule to the College of DuPage. None of this would have happened by chance. We invested early, stayed focused, and built real relationships. I have so much more to say, but I think I'm being cut off. But honestly, I am really, truly impressed with what DuPage has brought to us, and I am looking forward to continue working with them to see what they're going to do next. Thank you all.
Oh, yes. Very nice. Next up to the podium is Congressman, candidate for U.S. Senate and Gala Gold sponsor, Raja Krishnamurthy.
Good evening, DuPage Democrats. I am honored to be here. I want to observe those 3 rules of public speaking: be short, be sweet, and be gone. First of all, can you give a big round of applause to David Hogg, who is our featured guest tonight? Give him a big round of applause for all of his leadership. Secondly, can you give a big round of applause to Reed and Diane again and all the organizing committee for tonight's event? I can't hear you. I am proud to be a Democrat. How about you? I'm running for the United States Senate this year because of my backstory. As some of you know, I was born in India, came to this country when I was 3 months old, to Buffalo, New York. Things were going good, and then suddenly they went bad in the 1970s. At that time, my father lost his income in the recession of the 70s, but thanks to the generosity of this country, we were allowed to move into public housing and food stamps. I spent a good portion of my childhood in those 2 life-sustaining programs. Then my father got on his feet and got a great job in, of all places, Peoria, Illinois. Packed the U-Haul, drove to Peoria, and made it into the middle class. And pretty much every night at the dinner table, my father would say, think of the greatness of this country. And whatever you do, make sure this country is there for the next families who need it. And so that became the North Star of my personal compass. Fast forward through college and law school, came back to Illinois, worked in the private sector, the public sector, ran a small business, got elected to Congress, and 10 years later, I'm still pursuing that mission statement given to me by my parents: make sure this country is there for the next families who need it. I know my why. But that American dream that we were privileged to attain is slipping from the grasp of millions of people. You can look at my personal story to understand why. That legal immigration system that allowed us to come here is being dismantled every single day. The public housing and food stamps that enabled us to survive is on the chopping block now. And those public schools in Peoria that were the gateway to the American dream are under assault as Donald Trump seeks to close the Department of Education. So I submit to you, this is the central question that we're faced with. What kind of a government do we want? What kind of a government do we want? Do we want a government that's there for those fighting to make it, or a government that primarily caters to those who have it made? I say we need a government that cultivates the American dream for everyone. Are you with me on this? Regardless of the color of your skin, regardless of how you pray, whom you love, or the number of letters in your name. There are 29 in mine. I request your support. I thank you for your consideration. God bless you. God bless the DuPage Democrats. Thank you.
Yes. Please help me give a warm welcome to our next speaker, Illinois Attorney General and anti-MAGA legal wizard, Kwame Raoul.
I love that walk-on music. I can't wait till the music that tells me my time is up. Good evening, DuPage Democrats. You know, I am so pleased that you have David Hogg as your keynote speaker tonight, because I met David at the DNC, and David has done the job of making people feel uncomfortable. And if we're to really do the work that we need to do, we need to feel uncomfortable. We need to be made to feel that we are not doing enough. I grew up 1 block away from Rainbow Push. And then later I bought a condo 1 block away from Rainbow Push. So I grew up with the influence of the Reverend Jesse Jackson. And I received a lot of calls from Jesse Jackson after I accomplished something significant. But he wasn't calling me to congratulate me. He was calling me to challenge me to do more. He was making me feel uncomfortable. I tell you, every time I got a call, I got Reverend Jackson on the call, on the line for you, I felt uncomfortable. And so when I walked up to my seat, I saw all these flyers from candidates, and I've seen all the commercials, and my wife and I opened up our mailbox, and we saw a bunch of flyers from people saying, abolish ICE, and all the common lines that our polls tell us to say. But that's not enough. I can tell you, I'm very proud of the lawyers of the Attorney General's office. The work that they've done is more than a tagline. Our lawsuit with regards to the National Guard is more significant than everybody in this room fully appreciates. I invite you all to actually read Judge Perry's order, where she references the founders, the delegates, and Federalist 29 argued that we can't give the federal government the power over our state militias. One state's militia might be sent into another, and Alexander Hamilton said, oh, that's preposterous. That's impossible. That would never happen. We stopped the militarization of our American cities. That's because we care about this. And if we're going to do our work, we're going to talk to everybody. Play the music, because the stop sign is on. We're going to talk to everybody we can about this. We're not just going to say abolish ICE. We're not just going to talk to Democrats. Deb talked about coming out of the closet, but we need to talk to Republicans. who are impacted by tariffs. We need to talk to independents whose constitution has been trampled on. We need to do the work, and we need to be made to feel uncomfortable until we do that work. Thank you.
Yes, very nice. Our next speaker is your Illinois Lieutenant Governor, candidate for U.S. Senate and Gala Gold sponsor, Juliana Stratton.
Good evening, DuPage Democrats. I'm Juliana Stratton. I'm so honored to serve as your Lieutenant Governor, and I'm especially proud to be running to represent you in the United States Senate. Thank you to DuPage County Democrats Chair Reed McCullum and Vice Chair Diane McGuire for your leadership and for gathering so many friends and amazing leaders here tonight, including our keynote speaker, David Hogg, and Democratic Party of Illinois Chair Lisa Hernandez. And congratulations to all of tonight's honorees. You know, when I look around this room, I see the fight and the fire. I see organizers who have refused to give up even when those in power want us to feel hopeless. You have taken up the call to make sure we are organizing everywhere, and that's how we turned DuPage into Blue Page. That's the spirit we'll keep fighting with across this state, because there's simply too much at stake to sit on the sidelines. Donald Trump and his allies believe they can strip away voting rights, rip food off our tables, terrorize our neighbors, and rewrite the rules to keep themselves in power. They cut health care for millions of Americans. They raise costs for middle-class families. They handed tax cuts to corporations and the ultra-rich. It's despicable and it's dangerous. But we are not going backward, not on my watch. We will defend our democracy, our freedom, and our future at the ballot box, in the courts, and in the streets. Across the country, people are rising up and turning their fear into courage. And I will be right there alongside all of you. That's why I'm running for Senate, to give the people what they want: higher wages, affordable health care, and a government that works for you, not corporate special interest. It's the blueprint that Governor Pritzker and I have created in Illinois. We raised the minimum wage so people don't have to work 3 jobs to provide for their families. We eliminated over $1 billion in medical debt and lowered prescription drug prices so you don't have to choose between going to the doctor and paying your rent. We made record investments in education because your zip code should not determine your future. And we protected reproductive freedom because, as the incredible women in this room know, we don't need the government to tell us what to do with our bodies. We can decide for ourselves. We did all of that and more because we believed in something simple: that people deserve a fair shot. The status quo is leaving too many behind, and we can and should be demanding more. That's why I'm asking you to stay engaged, because democracy is built from the bottom up. And when we stand together, there's not a force in this world that can break us. Thank you, DuPage County Democrats, and please make sure you get out the vote on March 17th. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, very nice. Our next speaker is the first Korean American judge in DuPage County's history, Judge Christina Kai.
All right, good evening, everyone. This week we saw a majority conservative Supreme Court deal a major blow to the Trump administration by ruling his sweeping tariffs as unlawful. For the first time in his term, we saw the High Court curb Trump's unprecedented expansion of unilateral executive authority and rise to their role as a co-equal branch of government. And following the decision, Trump stated he was ashamed of certain members of the court, the 2 justices he appointed and who ruled against him. But a judge's job is not to fall in line or show fealty to a would-be autocrat. And a strong judiciary does not come from appointing yes men. It is built by electing and appointing qualified judges of integrity. And while Trump may be ashamed of the people he put on the bench, in DuPage County, you can take pride in your elected judiciary. This is a judiciary that has strengthened protections for juveniles who come through our courthouse by creating a new juvenile justice division, a division that gives juvenile court judges a stronger voice in shaping courthouse policies that impact the young people and families we serve. A judiciary that next month is launching a court call dedicated to cases involving individuals whose mental illness is so severe that they have been found unfit to stand trial. A call reflecting our commitment to addressing these cases with the care, attention, and specialized focus they deserve. A judiciary that actively supports innovative programs designed to address the root causes of criminality. Our Veterans Court program, First Offender Drug Court, and Mental Illness Court Alternative Program provide treatment, guidance, and support rather than relying on incarceration. These programs promote rehabilitation, reduce recidivism, and strengthen community trust in the justice system. DuPage County, take pride in the elected judiciary that you built. A judiciary with a Democratic majority, a judiciary with a female majority, stacked with qualified judges that you put on the bench. Judges like Peggy O'Connell, Mia McPherson, Jill Oddie, Jennifer Barron, Chantel Porter, Leah Setson, led by Bonnie Wheaton. And come November, with myself and Tara Costa Howard joining as elected judges. This, what we see in DuPage, is what a judiciary should be. This is what a judiciary should look like. I beg you, take pride in what you have built and let that pride fuel the work ahead. Thank you.
Very nice. Please put your hands together for our next speaker, State Rep, candidate for Comptroller, Gala Gold sponsor, and former J.B. Pritzker campaign legend, Margaret Crook. Let's hear it for her.
Good evening. It's hard to go after those two speakers, but I will do my best. Good evening, DuPage Dems. I'm Margaret Crook. I am a state rep running for Illinois Comptroller. What you need to know about me: I've spent my entire career in public service. Before I was a state rep, I was Deputy Chief of Staff at the Department of Commerce. And I entered that office after the Rauner administration. I feel like I said like Voldemort's name when I just uttered Rauner. And you can imagine that office was completely decimated from years of a budget impasse. So on day one, we had to hire dozens of new staff, create new agencies, stand up brand new programs, all within a matter of a year. And then a year passed and we were hit with the pandemic. So immediately that 5-year strategic plan we had put in place, we put on the back burner, and we had to make sure that Illinois' economy continued to run, that 6,500 small businesses within the state of Illinois could keep their lights on. And I tell you this story because we are in a pandemic right now. It's not one caused by a virus, it's one caused by the Trump administration. And you need someone in this office who on day one understands state government and can pivot and work in an office that is larger than the comptroller's office, who has worked in that office and who has overseen the disbursement of billions of dollars. Because we need someone who is going to protect our state right now. My plan is simple. I want to make it easier so you see how we spend taxpayer dollars. I want to strengthen our prevailing wage enforcement. And I want to make sure I'm doing everything possible to keep the lights on for our small businesses and our nonprofits. I understand this office is more than just balance sheets and spreadsheets, that every single dollar we spend is a reflection of what we value and what we care about as a state. And I will tell you, I love this state. I love this state more than anything. It is my favorite place in the entire world. and I am raising 3 kids here who are 6, 3, and 2. And I will do everything in my power to make sure that every child gets the best education, can get a good paying job, and raise their own family in this state. And while it is incredibly scary, and our household budgets are tight, and our state budget is even tighter, we have an opportunity to lead. We can lead with good governance, making sure we are investing in people, and doing everything we possibly can for good governance. I have been incredibly lucky on this campaign to earn the endorsements of Governor Pritzker, Kwame Raoul, the laborers, our diamond sponsor, and it's because they know that I will be a fighter with them. I hope that I can earn your support and earn your vote on March 17th. Thank you so much, DuPage.
Very nice. Join me in welcoming our next speaker to the dais, DuPage County Board member and candidate for state rep, Saba Hader. Let's hear it for her tonight.
How did they know that's my favorite song? I don't know. I didn't plan, but fight song. Good evening, everyone. My name is Saba Heather, and I am a DuPage County Board member. Sure, yes, thank you. A small business owner and a mother of 2 teenagers. Don't ask me how that's going. I moved to the US with my husband almost 20 years ago, and when I came here, I thought, this is it. My life is set. My hustling days are over. I have made it. Ah, the joys of being young and naive. As an immigrant, as a mother raising her 2 brown kids, as a Democratic elected official, I'm scared, I'm enraged, I am motivated, I am hopeful. I'm scared because countless families in this county are scared right now. Scared right now to buy food, to send their kids to school, to even show up for work. I'm enraged because we turned a blind eye in 2024 and keep funding a genocide in Gaza, as well as an apartheid in the West Bank. We did not listen to millions of our voters, especially young Americans who have the moral clarity that often their older counterparts lack. I am motivated. I am motivated because our house is on fire, and I am not willing to settle down for status quo. I'm going to fight like hell for my children and all the other kids to keep them safe from bigotry, from fascism, from hate. I am hopeful. I am hopeful because we have done what no one thought could be done. We turned DuPage to BluePage. Sure, yes. Along with every single person in this room, I have worked very, very hard to help Democrats get elected in DuPage County and beyond. But being hopeful is not just about sitting and dreaming that some hero, some leader will come and save us. We have to save us. We cannot let a wishbone grow where a backbone needs to be. We have to take action and fight back. Our recourse from here is the need for political courage and to act boldly and with urgency. We are a nation of immigrants. Trump and the Republican Party are constantly pitting neighbors against neighbors. Let's protect our most vulnerable. Let's defund ICE. Let's fight for the soul of our state, for the soul of our nation. Let's win in March. Let's win in November, everybody. Thank you so much.
Oh, yes. Let's give a round of applause to our next speaker, State Rep, House Latino Caucus Chair, and Latina superhero, Norma Hernandez.
Good evening, everyone. I appreciate the salsa music. But it's such an honor to be here with you all today in this huge room full of ready and prepared to lead Democrats. I am State Representative Norma Hernandez, and I proudly represent my hometown of Melrose Park and communities across the western suburbs of Cook County and northeast DuPage County. Today we gather to honor a tireless advocate and a remarkable leader who has profoundly shaped Latino and progressive politics, not only in our state, but in our nation, Congressman Jesus Chuy Garcia. When we talk about Chuy as a bridge builder, we're talking about someone who has spent more than 40 years building grassroots power across neighborhoods, racial lines, generations, and yes, even across the aisle when it meant delivering real results for working families. From his early days in community organizing and establishing the 22nd Ward IPO, the longest-serving independent political organization in Chicago's history, to his influential role in Congress, paving the way for young leaders to rise and run for office, especially women like myself and so many others. Chuy has always understood that leadership is not about one person. It's about building infrastructure. It's about building people. He understood the power of coalition early on. He saw it firsthand when he helped organize the Latino vote to support Mayor Harold Washington, standing shoulder to shoulder during the council wars and helping shape what became a true rainbow coalition. He was the first Mexican-American elected in Chicago City Council, Cook County Board of Commissioners, Illinois Senate, and now Congress from the Midwest. And with his leadership, that deserves an applause. And with his leadership, we made history electing the youngest Democrat to the Illinois House twice, the first Asian American in the Illinois House, the first formally undocumented person to the Cook County Board, over 10 judges to the bench, mostly women, and the first Latina countywide in Cook County, the 7-7 legislative district, and hopefully now Congress from the Midwest. And let me also remind you, someone too, the first Democrat in 100 years and first Latino township supervisor of Addison Township. Congressman, I want to thank you. Thank you for taking the time and energy to build the bench for the next generation. You understood early on that real systematic change requires a multiracial, multi-generational coalition rooted in shared values. It takes a village to build a village. And I saw that firsthand when I ran my race in the 77 district. We mobilized people to win against a 10-year incumbent because we tapped into our coalition, our neighbors, and knocked on doors every single day. What I learned from Chuy is how to trust your team, how to trust your community and organize with authenticity. Because of him, many of us are in positions of power today, and that matters deeply in this moment. Why? Because we are the ones that are now tasked with protecting our communities from these agents. People who care, people that are rooted in their hometown and accountable to their neighbors. That didn't happen by accident. It happened because Chuy invested in leadership long before it was convenient. His legacy goes far beyond holding office. The iconic Little Village Arch stands today because of his vision during his time as 22nd Ward Alderman, a powerful symbol of pride and belonging. How many of you appreciate the Trust Act right now? Congressman Garcia, during his time as Cook County Commissioner, introduced the nation's first ordinance limiting coordination between ICE and police, laying the groundwork for what we now call the Trust Act here in the state of Illinois. And even while standing firm in his progressive values, Chuy has always understood how to work across differences, how to deliver real results for the people. And that is true bridge building. This is what it looks like to have unwavering values paired with effective leadership. His legacy is about building a movement that challenged entrenched political machine, confronted institutional racism, and dismantled the paradigm that told us that we didn't belong here. And because he fought those battles, many of us now stand here not asking for permission, but leading. It is an honor not only to share these words about him today, but to work alongside him and witness his dedication firsthand. Thank you, Congressman, again. I also want to say thank you, Congressman, for never accepting any AIPAC money during your time in Congress. There is truly no one like you. You will be missed immensely. but you deserve to enjoy the years ahead with your family. And for that, I am happy for you. I think we're all happy for you. Congratulations on an extraordinary career and an outstanding legacy. Let's give it a round of applause for Congressman Chu Garcia.
Thank you, Representative Hernandez and Reed and all of the DuPage Democrats. I have 3 minutes, so I'm going to stay scripted and not filibuster you tonight. But I am deeply honored to receive this Bridge Builder Award. When I heard the name, I thought it was because of my work on the Infrastructure Committee in Congress, but I guess I've been building bridges in more ways than one. But the most important bridges that we build aren't made of steel and concrete. They're built out of trust, out of relationships, out of shared struggle and shared hope. The past 2 years have been a whirlwind. It feels like just yesterday I was running for mayor of Chicago, but life has a way of grounding you. I'm almost 70, April. I'm a father and a grandfather, and I'm a caregiver to my love and to my grandchildren. And that's what I am looking forward to starting in January of next year. And just last Friday, my cardiologist insisted on a precautionary procedure just to make sure that I'm around long enough to send these grandkids to college, and I intend to do that. It's been the honor of my life to serve in the United States House of Representatives. A kid who arrived in this country in a station wagon, I could never have imagined this, but it's possible. Everything I have been able to do has been rooted in community. And that's why this award means much to me. I'm always believed in politics of addition, bringing people together, connecting neighborhoods, building coalitions, lifting up voices that too often go unheard. A lot's been said about my decision to step aside. I understand that. And yes, I was looking forward to serving in a Democratic majority. There's always unfinished business. But public service is not about one person. It's about strengthening the bench and preparing the next generation to lead as well. And I believe in that next generation. I believe in leaders like Delia Ramirez and Norma Hernandez and Andy Honig and Bobby Hernandez and Patty Garcia. They're bold and they're ambitious, and sometimes they make us a little bit nervous and uncomfortable, but it's okay. It's how progress happens. At the same time, we have to be vigilant. Let's look at what's happening in Chicago and in other congressional districts across Illinois and the country. Outside money is flooding it in, trying to shape outcomes from afar and trying to drown out the voices of very communities that those districts are supposed to represent. And that's why it is important that we work hard, that we outmaneuver those who try to buy influence, and we will outwork those who mistake money for power. Call it guerrilla warfare, because democracy is not for sale, and we will not yield. As I enter what I call my legacy years, my commitment remains the same. I'll continue building bridges, building communities, building generations, and toward a more just democracy. Thank you for this honor. And just like I indicted Pam Bondi in the Judiciary Committee, we prepare for next week the visit of Kristi Noem to let her know what her offenses against the American people have been. There will be justice in our America. Thank you. Good night.
Yes. Our next speaker is Congressman, Gala Gold sponsor, and ultra smart science dude, Bill Foster.
Hey there, physicists do not do walk-up music, okay? All right, for those of you who don't know me, you know, I've been here so many times since it was a much, much smaller group back then, and it is, you know, it's my honor. First off, I want to thank all of you. I'm not opposed in this primary, and I just want to thank all of you for your confidence and your support that made that possible. It's, and in honor of Chewy, who will be sorely missed, I'd like to try to give you maybe a minute or two back on the run of show here. So I'll be really quick. I just want to highlight what Christina and what Kwame said, is that the Supreme Court decision of last week can be a real turning point. I think you're going to see Republicans breaking more and more on this, and it's about time. We've won a couple of votes where a few Republicans, you know, I'm not going to give them credit for having a moral core, but at least they have a self-interest that caused them to vote on the right side of some important votes. There are a lot of important ones coming up. We have now focused the funding debate down on ICE and a couple of other agencies, and we are now have introduced legislation to strip it down so we'll have a clean vote on funding everything except for ICE. And that is going to be a step forward, and I believe we're going to peel off some more Republicans on that. So it is this sort of smart work that is going to be the work of the next several months to make sure that we get the election that we deserve. And thank you all for being part of that.
Very nice. Our next speaker has a pet goat named Tanya. She is also Lake County Treasurer, candidate for Comptroller, and Gala Gold sponsor, Holly Kim.
Yo, DuPage! Hell yeah! I'm Holly Kim, and I have the honor of serving 2 terms as Lake County Treasurer, and I'm running for Illinois State Controller. I come from a background of financial hardship where I had a kid in college, and I had to sign up for WIC, Medicaid, and the Head Start program. And about that same time, I had a relative steal my identity and absolutely trash my credit to the ground. So yeah, to go from that to proudly being a 2-term treasurer of billions of dollars in the 3rd largest county, all checks with my name on it, hell yeah, I'm very proud. That also means out of the 4 people running, I'm the only one who's already doing the job. And I'm thankful that those social supports were around when I needed a hand, and I will always prioritize their swift reimbursement. I'm a committed protector of you, your families, and your money in a way that I wish someone would have done for me back then. My specialty is changing government tangibly in ways that you could see, feel, and benefit from directly, and I think that's something we need in government more. Everyone's tired of polished bullet points, and they're asking, but what are you actually going to do that's going to make my life better? And that's my specialty. I first ran for village trustee in 2013, and I taught people how to appeal their assessments, keep a little more money in their pockets. At the township, we converted a boardroom into a food pantry. And as treasurer, I was elected twice and I won my last election by 131,000 votes. And I want you to note that that's almost double all my opponents combined. Susana Mendoza herself has been my work mentor the last 7 years. And I grew 200% investment outcomes since I started. And I gave $6 million back to my schools, my parks, and my libraries. It's unheard of that government gives money back. I also sit on the Bank on Commission Against Predatory Lending, where we worked with the Black Caucus and the legislators to lower the percentage at which payday loans could charge, and they all closed up shop and left Illinois. I also served on Alexi Janulius's tech transition team. So here's what I plan to do. Number 1, there's nothing wrong with wanting to do the job. I'm going to update the software. I'm going to maximize efficiency and beef up the cybersecurity. I'm going to expand our prevailing wage department. And I'm going to ensure that all of our privacy rights are intact. I'm a privacy rights advocate that follows the ACLU, and I will deliver a hefty FU to federal MAGA overreach. I can't stress enough that this is a real money position that needs a real money person. And with 3 more years of Trump, I am that weathered sea captain that will be at the wheel to get us through the stormy waters. My name is Holly Kim. I'm running for Illinois State Controller, and I will appreciate your vote of confidence on March 17th. Thank you.
Yes, very nice. Please help me welcome our next speaker. She is a congresswoman and a fearless champion. She melts ice like a flamethrower. Delia Ramirez.
Un VIP. Thank you. Okay, Benito Bo. Well, good evening, DuPage Democrats. It is my pleasure to be with you tonight and get grounded on a little Bad Bunny as we continue to celebrate the work that is being done all across DuPage to build a Democratic Party that is responsive to the needs of our communities. I want to thank Reed McCollum and all the Democratic Township chairs for your work, not just in leading tonight's gala, but throughout the year with township organizations that have been instrumental in building the momentum we have here today. I heard Diane say it, we have over 700 people here tonight, which is 200 more than we had last year, and 200 less than we're gonna have next year, so we're gonna keep building up. But look, let me be very honest with you. As we are celebrating our wins tonight, and we've had significant wins, I also want to remind ourselves that all of this is happening at the backdrop of the most serious threat to our nation that our nation has ever faced. The threat of fascism that has grown and spread, not from outside of our walls, but from within. Right-wing extremists that are out of control of every aspect of the federal government, and they're waging a war against the American people. And let me be clear, if we do not respond with the seriousness that this threat deserves, we risk losing everything that we hold dear. So we must be clear on the roots of this problem. And no, I know you're shocked. It's not just Donald Trump. Trump is a symptom of a system that for too long has not worked for everyday people. A system where basic human rights like healthcare, like housing, like education are only guaranteed to those who can afford them. A system where right-wing billionaires can spend millions of dollars to influence Democratic primaries so that working-class candidates like me could never have a chance. So yes, let me be clear, we should call out the fascists and the insurrectionists that are in the White House. But friends, let me be bluntly honest with all you in DuPage. We must also confront the reality of the corrupting influence of money and politics in our own house. And we must ask ourselves, what are we willing to do about it? Because I am clear, we will not defeat fascism by cozying up to the oligarchs who are actively profiting from the suffering and pain of our communities. And so when I say things like this, people often ask me, well, how are you able to speak so boldly and so clearly? Well, let me explain to you. I know the struggle of so many of our families and what they're going through because I've lived them. I know what it's like to have an undocumented family member who is terrified to go outside because of Trump's Gestapo police in our streets. I have family members who have negotiated between paying their bills and going to the doctor. And so I'm not going to wait my turn or wait for us to be in the majority to respond to the Trump administration with the rightful force and seriousness that this moment deserves, and neither should you. Let me wrap up, and I'm taking a minute from Bill, so here we go. I want to be clear in our convictions, and I want us to know that we are fighting before it's too late. As Democrats, we must understand that people are looking at us to lead. And that is why I have clearly said we have to abolish ICE, and we have to dismantle the Department of Homeland Security. We must call out and stop the corrupting influence of money in our politics. We must make sure to elect Democrats who are going to be beholden to the people and not corporate interests or billionaires. We must understand that the United States has a responsibility and influence in the global community, and we must lead with a foreign policy that centers diplomacy, collaboration, and the preservation of human rights. And it is why I am proudly leading the Block the Bombs bill, because every child, whether you grew up in Glen Ellen, West Chicago, or Gaza, deserves a chance at a good and dignified life. So let me say this as I wrap up, because they're going to drag me out. People are tired of excuses, DuPage Dems. They want action, and I'm going to implore on everyone in this room, as leaders of the Democratic Party, we must call and meet this moment, or we must move out of the way for those that will. People are right to be mad at the state of the nation, and as leaders in public service, it is our responsibility to channel that anger and frustration and lead people with vision, with purpose, and moral clarity. So DuPage, let me ask you, are you ready to organize and fight back? Are you ready to move forward? Are you ready to ensure that every single person in this country has everything they need to thrive? Let's go, DuPage Dems. Let's go.
Yes. Our next speaker chases ice goons out of your neighborhood in high heels. She is also state senator and candidate for comptroller, Karina Villa.
Oh my goodness. Good evening, DuPage. Buenas noches, assalamu alaikum. I want to start out by mentioning a few of my friends and colleagues in the upper chamber that are present today in the House. Senator Laura Ellman, Senator Gloria Hilton, Leader Castro, Leader Holmes, and the only person that I refer to as my president, President Don Harmon. My name is Karina Villa, and I am the proud daughter of immigrants. I was born and raised in one of the wealthiest counties, not only in our state, but in the country, DuPage County. In that beautiful county, there exists a town called West Chicago, a working class community where my grandfather and grandmother came to live on a mushroom farm, where they were mistreated by the owners. And finally, when they were able to afford the money to purchase a house, they had to go around and get signatures from the neighbors asking if it was okay for them to buy a house as Mexicans in West Chicago. Now the majority of the homeowners in West Chicago are Latinos, are Mexican. That's how far we have come in DuPage County. So far have we come that their granddaughter was able to flip not one, but 2 districts. I replaced Jim Oberweis in the Senate. That's right. And I have been fighting the fight ever since I got elected, whether it was the fight to make sure we got the Reproductive Health Act passed, or whether it's codifying the right to an education here in the state of Illinois because Donald Trump's regime is threatening us all. I have been the bold leader that you all helped raise. And now I am running for this seat to be the next Illinois state controller because I believe that budgets are moral documents and that we need to put our money where our values are. No more thoughts of austerity where we have to chop budgets in order to fully fund education, healthcare, and childcare. Instead, let's tax the billionaires, let's tax the corporations, and let's fully fund our services. And finally, when I get to be the controller of the state of Illinois, I will have a seat on the Illinois Board of Investments, and my vote will be no to continue to purchase bonds for Israel. My vote will be a resounding no. Thank you.
Very nice. Let's give a warm welcome to our next speaker from Addison Township, Young Dems, Malia Thacker. Let's hear it for her tonight.
Good evening, everyone.
My name is Malia Thacker, and I'm on the executive board of Addison Township Young Dems and the Young Democrats of Illinois. I want to start by acknowledging all of the Young Democrats in the room tonight. This has been a year in the making. We have many people here, still even students. If you are a Young Democrat, 35 and under, please stand to be acknowledged. This is the future. We have about 100 Young Dems here. How amazing is that? Young Dems are getting more engaged, and it's more important now than ever. Our goal over the past year has been to create a Young Dem presence in DuPage County. Through Addison Township Young Democrats, which we ramped up last year in May, we have been able to accomplish so much. We have had many community events in Addison Township, which welcome people from all over the Chicagoland. We had our first event last July where we showcased elected officials from the local level to all the way to the federal level. Following the launch of Addison Township Young Dems of Illinois relaunched, looking to create more of a presence within the state. We had our first event last November with the new executive board where we had a keynote speaker, Alexi Janulius, and we had about 200 Young Dems come out to that event out in Chicago. This year, we're turning new energy into real action, bringing more Young Democrats into the work of building a more just democracy. We are looking forward to what 2026 has in store for us and always hope to connect with more Young Democrats because this is our future that we are fighting for. Thank you.
Very nice. Please put your hands together for our next speaker, State Rep Maura Horschauer.
All right. I didn't know that would be my walk-up song. That was kind of cool. Good evening, everyone. I'm really honored to be here with you because tonight is a testament to the through lines that hold us all together here in this room as Democrats. It's the guiding principles that keep us moving forward to that bright light of safety and justice for all. Speaker Welch in the House calls this our why, but I like to think of it as all of our whys as invisible strings that connect us. And yes, I'm a Swiftie for all of you out there who caught that reference. If you look around this room, every single one of us has our own reason for being here. That moment that pushed us to run for office, to knock on doors, to march in the streets, to organize in our communities. And tonight, our invisible strings shimmer with gold as we celebrate the principles that bind us. And we honor the courage of our candidates and recognize the dedication of our trusted volunteers. Outside this room, our why comes to life every single day when we show up for our neighbors, when we organize in our rapid response teams. Please give our rapid response teams a hand of applause. We run food drives, we show up at schools to make sure that our kids are safe, and we stand on street corners holding signs of solidarity that proclaim, "We keep us safe." Who keeps us safe? Who keeps us safe? My personal why is rooted in the safety and security of our children, ensuring that every child, without exception, has a safe place to grow and the support they need to truly thrive. That invisible string drew me to a group of fierce women who helped me found the Kane and Kendall County Moms Demand Action and connected with our DuPage County Moms Demand Action. I know you're out there. And it was that same invisible string that ultimately led me to run for office. But not all of our strings shimmer with gold. Some are heavy with grief and strengthened by purpose. These are the strings that connect the survivors of gun violence. Behind every single gun violence prevention victory we've achieved in Springfield, and there have been quite a few, the assault weapons ban, safe storage, Karina's Law, behind all of those stand a legion of survivors, everyday heroes who have taken unimaginable pain and transformed it into purpose. The passage of Karina's Law is a powerful example of the strength of the human spirit, the extraordinary ability to endure the worst moments imaginable and rise, determined to protect others. Tonight, we are honored to be joined by my friend, Manny Alvarez, proud son of Karina Gonzalez and brother of Daniela. Manny advocated for Karina's Law while recovering from a gunshot wound inflicted by his own father. Unimaginable. Even as he rebuilt his life, he stood side by side with lawmakers in Springfield, helping to shape and pass this life-saving legislation. He was on the floor with us in the House when it passed, and he was standing next to Governor Pritzker when it was signed into law. He turned his pain into purpose, and because of his courage, the lives of Karina and Daniela will be honored forever by a policy that will protect people all across Illinois. Manny embodies the strength and empathy of a survivor, and I'd like you to take a look at this video that will explain more.
"6,884 days. That's how long my mom spent taking care of me. And 13 minutes into day number 6,885, she left this world, finally ascending to a place where she could feel safe. Since then, I've often dreamed of a world where my mom doesn't have me, but she's happy. A world where she doesn't flinch at the sound of a door slamming, where she isn't scared to go to sleep, wondering if she'll wake up, where no one tells her I love you while holding a gun to her head. My mom dreamed of being a fashion designer. She graduated college in Mexico and had begun chasing her dreams when she gave it all up to move to the US, hoping her future children wouldn't have to endure the same hardships she did. That dream, at least, came true. After several heartbreaks trying to have a child, she finally got the good news she had prayed for. She gave her son the middle name, Emmanuel. God is with us. Mom, you passed before you saw me succeed, before I could show you that your sacrifices were not in vain. But nothing can hurt me now, not after seeing the two people I love the most in this world in a casket. Your death gave me clarity. I remember our last meal, our last hug, my last words to you. I understand death now, so I live differently. I hold tighter, I speak softer. I appreciate every second because I know how fast it can all disappear. Good times don't last forever, but neither do the bad ones. I've learned to welcome the dark because there is no light without it. My favorite memories with you were the ones where we laughed through the pain. How broke we were, how stuck we felt, how no one was there for us but us, and somehow we still laughed. If you're seeing this on Mother's Day, today marks something historic, the first day of Karina's Law being in effect. An immigrant woman from Mexico who worked dead-end jobs and survived an abusive husband will now go on to save the lives of other domestic violence victims. Your name, Mom, outlives the man who spent his life trying to break you. That man was your husband and my father. But you won, and I will spend every day making sure the world knows it. This isn't goodbye. This is see you later.
And now, please welcome Manny to the stage.
I want to start by saying it's an honor to be speaking tonight next to all these amazing people, candidates, electeds, fellow violence activist David Hogg. I was invited to speak here as of last night, so I'm a bit on short notice, but just bear with me, please. My name is Jesus Manuel Alvarez, also known as Manny Alvarez. And during these past 2 years, I've learned a lot about grief and learned that it's a very real thing. Yes, important days hurt, anniversaries, birthdays, holidays, those are some of the worst days, but I think some of the worst days also are the days that don't have an explanation. The days that I'm at work, I'm at the corner store grabbing lunch, I'm in bed trying to toss and turn and go to sleep. Those are the most difficult days to really try to process what has happened during these tragic events. And I think the best part is that when I look at a room like this, everyone in here has kind of gone through their own battle. And some people won't compare themselves to mine, and that's perfectly okay, but everyone's battle is the same, in my opinion. Everyone has their ups, their downs. You're gonna lose people. You're gonna have to cut off people, family members, friends, people who you once trusted, and that hurts. One of those people was my dad, who I looked up to as a kid, and unfortunately he shot and killed my mother and attempted to kill me too. I think one of the best parts that came with all this publicity and recognition that half of the time I don't want to have because it's scary talking to this many people, is that I still live a normal life. I have a 9-to-5 job, quote unquote. I have to pay rent. I have to pay bills. I have a car note. So no one knows what I do on a day-to-day basis, and I kind of want to touch note on that because that hasn't really been talked about too much during this past year. I work in community violence intervention, and I've gotten the opportunity during this past year to work with a lot of street-involved youth, helping them kind of navigate the system, really learn what comes with the struggles of the streets and those battles that a lot of people kind of tend to criticize, especially when it comes to, our federal system at the moment. A lot of these children, some of them are older than me, so it's kind of weird sometimes. They're very similar to me. They're born in Little Village, where I come from, and because of working with these guys, I've gotten to learn that they're very similar. Lots of high school dropouts, which I dropped out at the 9th grade, I want to say. They've lost mothers, they've lost fathers, they've lost friends, family, and they all go through their own mental challenges that, frankly, they don't address half the time. And it's a very common thing that I see, which sucks. But during this past year, I've gotten to work under the Scaling Community Violence Intervention for Safer Chicago, along with fellow partners in the community of Little Village, and we helped reduce gun violence by 60% last year, which was amazing. And though I'm not sure of what I want to do, pursue, study, dedicate my life to, I'm still kind of working on that. I enjoy going to work every single day for the first time. And I think that's what my mother came here for, right? That's what a lot of our stories, immigrants, are. The chance to come here and do something that we love and actually enjoy our time here and not have to slave away to minimum wage jobs and pursue what we want to do, right? I think another thing is, despite all this, I am the epitome of what our current federal administration is attempting to suppress in this country. Across the country, across Illinois, across Chicago, I'm a young first-generation Latino male who dropped out of high school, whose dad was a drug addict, had to survive off WIC, food stamps, Medicaid, and Social Security benefits, and is now part of the incarceration system at the age of 70 years old, whose mother was an immigrant from Mexico who crossed the border illegally, worked under the table through a staffing agency, taking any minimum wage job, yet pay taxes that now fund DHS and ICE, who terrorize my own neighborhood of Little Village and, frankly, a lot of neighborhoods around Illinois and the country, killing protesters, detaining 5-year-olds, and arresting U.S. citizens, whose sister was supposed to graduate from high school this upcoming summer and become the first family member to attend a university with hopes of studying astronomy, yet I'm going to have to accept her diploma on her behalf, which is ironic because I dropped out of high school, so it comes full circle, right? My support group during this past 2 to 3 years has been amazing. If I had to shout everyone out, I think I'd be here for another hour. So I'll make it short. Thank you, first off, to Representative Mara Hirschauer for her work on the House floor. A special thank you to Senator Selena Villanueva for her work on the Senate floor and her mentorship. And to close this out, right, thank you to everyone who worked to contribute towards the passing of Karina's Law, to those who continue to fight for immigrants, first-generation Americans, domestic violence victims, community violence intervention. Please continue to fight for us. Please continue to fund it, and please continue to fight for everything that everyone in this room stands for. It's very important. And rest in peace to Karina del Socorro Gonzalez and my sister Daniela Alvarez, and thank you.
Manny, we can't wait to see what's next for you. We know the future is bright, and everything you do will honor Karina and Daniela as you go forward. You know, there is not a single community in this country that is immune to the devastation of gun violence. Today, guns are the #1 killer of children in the United States. And we have seen gun violence perpetrated by a rogue federal immigration agency, with the tragic shooting deaths of Silverio Villegas Gonzalez here in Franklin Park, Keith Porter Jr. in Los Angeles, and Renee Good and Alex Preddy in Minnesota. The ripple effects of gun violence reach far beyond the headlines, sending waves of loss and survivorship throughout communities across this nation, creating invisible strings that no one would ever choose to carry. And yet, survivors persist. They move forward with courage and with a shared purpose of not one more. The invisible string connecting our keynote speaker tonight to all of us is forged from unimaginable grief, survivorship, and unyielding strength. The students, teachers, and families of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, will forever hold a place in our hearts. Their tragedy unfolded before this entire nation, a nightmare witnessed in real time. But in the aftermath, David Hogg and his classmates refused to be silent. They turned their grief into action, co-founding March for Our Lives and igniting one of the largest youth movements in the world. Their voices were urgent, fearless, and impossible for us to ignore, demanding the adults in power, all of us in this room, to listen and to act. They spurred millions into action. How many of you participated in the March for Our Lives on March 24th, 2018? Give me a round of applause if you marched. Here in Illinois, Washington, D.C., across the country. I was there with my family. And those kids and David did not stop there. David has continued to inspire and build a new generation of leaders, something our democracy urgently needs. When I heard David and his classmates demanding that we listen, I picked up that invisible string myself, and I know many of you all did too. It is critical that we create space and leadership for the next generation, that we keep moving our democracy forward so that one day, very soon, I hope, we can hand our children a stronger and safer nation. David Hogg is here with us tonight, and it's really a special thing because my kids, I have 2 teenage daughters, they were incredibly excited because David was the first Gen Z vice chair of the Democratic National Committee. Come on. We need more of that. We need more of our kids engaged. If my kids know who David is, that's a really big deal because it's like Taylor Swift and not much else in our house. David has been working to engage young voters and strengthen grassroots organizing nationwide. He helped elect Maxwell Frost, the first Gen Z member of Congress. And he co-founded Leaders We Deserve, an organization dedicated to electing bold young leaders and building a democratic bench for the future. All right, we need that bench now more than ever. From mobilizing tens of thousands of people in the streets to helping elect Democrats up and down the ballot, David Hogg has consistently turned advocacy into action, reminding us that democracy is strongest when new generations step forward to lead. And so it feels especially fitting tonight that I have the honor of turning this microphone over to someone whose invisible string is now woven into all of ours. Please join me in giving David Hogg a warm DuPage County welcome.
All right, Blue Page. First of all, can we please give it up for Manny again? It is so hard for survivors to do this work every day, but it's only because of people like Manny and so many others out there who I don't even know the names of that are not in this room right now, but nonetheless have gone through similar experiences that I'm able to do the work. Because I learned through the work of people who did much of the work of gun violence prevention long before Parkland that it was okay for me to take a break because I knew there were other people out there like Manny and others doing the work. And hopefully, Manny, you know that you can take a break when you need to because I'm out here and other people in this room are out here as well. So thank you for your leadership. And let this also not just let's not just pat ourselves on the back. We can still do more in this state. Let's get the Rifle Act passed. There's also another important shout out that I need to make. In particular, there's something very unique about this room tonight. I've spoken at a lot of galas like this. I have never, in my entire time speaking at these, the most number of people that I've ever seen at one of these events under the age of 30 is 10. Tonight, I want you guys to see how many young people there are in this room from the work that this local party did to get them in the room. If you are under 30, please stand up. Look at them. Look at that. Look at that. Thank you. I'm sure there's plenty of midterms that you guys are procrastinating on. But thank you for actually not just saying, oh, we really care about young people, but actually doing the work to make sure that they were able to be here. I'm pretty sure you guys had them come here for free, right? Yes. So thank you for actively incorporating them and not just saying, oh, we need more young people. Okay. Now that I got that out of the way, it's truly remarkable. I can't tell you how insane that is. I wish every single party was more like that, like this, in their inclusion of young people. So thank you guys for coming. Of course, thank you, all of you, for giving me the opportunity to speak here today. Some of you may know me through my work at March. Most of you probably know me through my work at March for Our Lives, and I can't begin to talk about where I am today without telling that story. And it goes beyond, this story that I'm going to tell you today actually starts after the marches. It starts after we came through DuPage County and we helped to flip the county blue in 2018 with your all's support, obviously, because we came through on a bus tour with a bunch of great young people. It goes to when I had to go to college, and I was in my freshman year dorm room. And I had to hire somebody to take over the work at March for Our Lives that I was doing in organizing. So I called up a friend named Maxwell. And I said, hey, I really need you to take this job. I got to study, so on and so forth. And he said, hey, I really appreciate it, but you know, I'm at the ACLU right now. I'm really busy. I like my job a lot, so I'm not going to take the job. And the next day, I took one of the tests in my full immersion Spanish class that you have to pass in order to graduate. And I did not do too well as a dyslexic. And I call Maxwell and I say, you don't understand. I really have to pass this class in order to graduate. I need you to take this job. And he said, fine, I'll take the job. And then Maxwell organized protests around the country with us. And then 2 years later, he organized protests helping us pass dozens and dozens of gun laws all over the country, registering young people to vote. And then a few years later, in my junior year, he called me and he said, he had good news and bad news. The bad news was that he couldn't work any longer at March for Our Lives, but the good news was he was running for Congress. And I was very excited at first, but I said, Maxwell, you know you're 24, right? You have to be 25 to be elected to Congress. And he said, yes, thankfully, I am better at math than you are at Spanish. I will be old enough by the time I'm elected. And I said, amazing. And my friend was in a Democratic primary against many older, much more accomplished and experienced Democrats. One of his opponents was so experienced, in fact, that one of his opponents was investigated by the House Ethics Committee for actions related to an offshore hedge fund, and the other had been indicted on committing tax fraud while in Congress. Both Democrats, by the way. Almost like Chicago came to Florida. Hey, all I'm going to say is that there's a good reason for primaries against incumbents. Especially incumbents that take money from AIPAC. Because let's be clear, it doesn't matter if it's a child that is getting shot on the streets of the United States here in Chicago or getting bombed in Gaza. It is unacceptable. And let me be clear. If you cannot tell what side of the 50-yard line you are on in that moment, I don't know what you're doing in power, because it's not the right thing. And by the way, it's not just Palestinians that are getting killed. It is also American citizens in Palestine that are getting killed. And in my opinion, no country that kills American citizens with our bombs should be armed with our bombs. Radical. Crazy idea, I know, right? Do you guys agree with that? Do you agree with that? Well, guess what? I got news for you. You're going to have to get a hell of a lot more engaged in the 2028 primary, because AIPAC is trying to buy out your entire congressional delegation right now. Are you going to let that happen? No. Are you going to let that happen? No. Because our democracy is being bought and sold right now. That's a bunch of bullshit. But that will not change until the people show up en masse to overcome the power of money in our politics and change our campaign finance system so that our elections reward not who raises the most money, but who has the best ideas. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm sorry, I just think a lot of this stuff is ridiculous, guys. I just don't understand how so many people can't tell what side of the 50-yard line they're on right now, right? And the reason why I come to this place, let me get back to my speech. Sorry. I just had to get that out of the way because it is insane. But don't worry, guys, I'm coming back in 2028, and we're gonna have a very fun primary season. So, going back to my speech, Maxwell is running against a bunch of other experienced corrupt Democrats. And after he endured a grueling campaign, he had to Uber drive every night from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. as a 25-year-old. But despite that, I got to see Congressman Maxwell Frost get sworn in as the first 25-year-old elected to Congress, the first member of Gen Z elected to Congress. And during that time, look, I came into this work as an activist, but I realized we cannot simply pressure our government to act better from the outside if the people inside, especially our Democrats, aren't willing to fight for us. That's why, and the way, you know how I learned that? It's because when I was 19 years old, I pushed with March for Our Lives to create the office, to get presidential campaigns in the Democratic primary to create the Office of Gun Violence Prevention. A basic idea, just to coordinate the federal government's response to gun violence. It's unsexy, but some of the most unsexy things are actually some of the most effective things. And despite President Biden promising to create that office after he was elected, I got given the runaround while I was on Zoom calls from my dorm room with the White House, talking to different administration officials about all the reasons this office couldn't happen. So, when Congressman Maxwell Frost was elected, guess what his first bill was? It was to create the Office of Gun Violence Prevention to pressure the White House. And guess what? Guess what? I didn't just protest Donald Trump. I held President Biden accountable with my colleagues in March for Our Lives. We protested outside of the White House, too, to create that office, to fulfill his promise to survivors. And guess what? Within a year of Maxwell being elected, I went from protesting outside of the White House to sitting in the Oval Office in front of the President of the United States of America after the Office of Gun Violence Prevention was created and announced by Congressman Maxwell Frost. It was a lesson in how we can fight tooth and nail on the outside of the levers of power for the change we want, but until we fill the seats nobody thinks we're qualified for, we'll always be reactive instead of proactive. It's not enough to have all of these movements just pressuring us from the outside, pressuring our government from the outside, if those inside refuse to change. So from there, I decided to start Leaders We Deserve with Maxwell's campaign manager, because we saw how hard it was for him as a young 25-year-old to get elected. And we saw how many other young people marched with us, protested with us, walked out of their schools with us, but don't have the resources, don't have the advice to get elected. And here's the deal, too. We don't want to just elect young versions of the people currently in power. No offense, guys, but the Democratic Party can be a hell of a lot better. I believe the best is yet to come for our party. Do you believe that? Do you believe that? It is yet to come, but guess what? Growth does not come from comfort. It comes from the uncomfortable. It comes from making the tough decisions, and oftentimes, you know what causes change in politics? It's not the 90% of people who lick their finger and stick it in the goddamn air and say, well, which way is the wind blowing? Which way is the wind? It comes from the people who make the wind blow. Our party, our country right now is craving leadership, and our party has to have a message that goes beyond, well, guys, we're not Donald Trump, we're not Donald Trump, we're not Donald Trump. Here is my question. Americans know we are not Donald Trump. My question I pose to you all tonight is, who are we? Are we a party that is going to arm a war criminal like Benjamin Netanyahu? Are we a party that is going to continue to let our kids get gunned down in their schools and communities or in Palestine? No. We're a party that fights for the American people and should fight for the American people, and I believe has a long history of doing so, but we are increasingly drifting away from that. Why? Because special interests have bought out our party, and it's unacceptable. It is not enough for Americans to know who we are not. They must know who we are, and that starts with telling them, you know what? We are not going to take corporate money. We are not going to take money from AIPAC. You know why? Because we represent you, not special interests. And the reason why I'm so goddamn angry is because I represent only a tiny percentage of the anger that our generation and Gen Z feel. I had an older person the other day, and let me clear one thing up before I get on this point. I love old people. Let me tell you, working with younger candidates, working with a lot of young people, let me tell you, there are a lot of very stupid, completely inexperienced, corruptible, and bad young people that should be absolutely nowhere near power at all. But there are also lots of great older people too. Unfortunately, it's not like you just get above a certain age and then it's like, well, you're done, you suck, you need to go. No, unfortunately, it's more complicated and nuanced than that. But guess what? Leaders We Deserve is not here just to elect younger versions of the people that are currently in power. We're here to show a generation of young Americans that feel like they have been let down time and time and time again. That older generation say, well, why don't you just believe in democracy? Why should we? That is my question. If we want young people, if our party wants young people to believe in democracy, we have to make democracy actually work for them. And that starts by ensuring that we don't take money from the special interests that are destroying our democracy and our generation. And there's nothing radical about that. There isn't. But look, I heard when I was a vice chair at the DNC in my incredibly short stint there. It's okay. I'm going to outlive many of the people in this party. The question is, what will we do after? What will we do after? Because we have so much further to go. We have so much further to go. But what gives me hope is the fact that just in less than 10 years since Parkland, our party has gone from a place of being terrified of the NRA to directly standing up to it, time and time again. But let me be clear, it didn't get there on its own. It got there because of activists like Manny. It got there because of activists who held those in power accountable and directly challenged them. And because of that, guess what? In Florida, from the gun laws that we changed there, even though it was a Republican trifecta, we passed a red flag law that since has saved over 20,000 lives in Florida alone. And because of the work that President Biden did do, to his credit, I think it's possible both to protest people and give them credit at the same time. I think that's the power of democracy. To President Biden's credit, under his leadership, with the passage of the first federal gun law in 30 years, our country, after the Office of Gun Violence Prevention was created, after fighting tooth and nail, that office oversaw the 2 largest one-year reductions in gun homicide in American history, ever. But here's the problem, folks. Here's the problem. I've completely lost track of my speech at this point. Here's the problem. Our job as Democrats is a hell of a lot harder than it is to be a Republican. You know why? Because we don't run on the idea that government sucks and then get elected and make it suck, and then run again on the idea that the thing that we broke is broken and get us elected so we can break it some more. We actually try to make government work because we've seen the power of it. I have seen the power of it. Most of the people in this room, people like Manny, have seen the power of it, of what government can do when it works for you. And the reason why I know that is because when my father was diagnosed with early onset Parkinson's disease, the reason why my family didn't go bankrupt and he still had health care was because of a great leader who started in Chicago that passed the Affordable Care Act to ensure he was not kicked off his insurance. Our party is the party that passed Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. That is the party that I want us going back to. Are you with that? It's a lot to get through. The original blueprints of our democracy are not reflected in our present reality. Our economy rewards not the hardest worker, but the highest bidder. And our elections reward the highest raisers, not the best campaigners. And that's wrong. And our generation's strife has been felt many times throughout history, whether it was the wages of hardworking Pullman company laborers being slashed to maintain profits, or 200,000 people in Illinois having their jobs taken and shipped overseas by Ronald Reagan and others just to save a few bucks on labor. Or whether that's today in the form of Amazon workers in Chicago who literally can't even get a bathroom break. That's wrong. Our failures in this Citizens United era have led to a generation plagued by an epidemic of apathy. And why should we blame the young? The architects of this nation equipped their people, unprecedented opportunity, but today we're seeing unprecedented levels of distrust in the system. This country has amassed great wealth for the few, but it has come at the cost of the many who seek to write their own story of American success. We must expect more. Here in this state of legends, we will demand it. And let me remind you, you all might think, well, isn't 25 a little young to run for anything? Like, shouldn't you wait a couple years? Let me remind you, let me get to my point before you, just hold the applause. Let me remind you of a great young leader that came from this state. He was a young man at just 25 years old who dared to redefine our perception of a politician. And then years later, after experiencing a meteoric rise, after his work in Springfield, followed by national calamity, he delivered the words that bind our republic together, that a house together cannot stand. That's right. Abraham Lincoln, when he was first elected in this state, was 25 years old. We've seen what happens when young, strong leaders get into positions of power. We've seen the creation of things like the Office of Gun Violence Prevention, but in this state, you guys have also seen the election of leaders like Nabila Saeed, who don't just get elected and say, well, you know what Nabila's message isn't? It's not, well, I'm young, so you should vote for me. It's, I get shit done. Vote for me. And Leaders We Deserve is proud to support her because of her work fighting against price gouging on generic drugs and not letting them these pharmaceutical companies just face unlimited financial freedom. We've seen people like Demi Pelchek not just knocking doors, but mobilizing their constituents to protect one another against masked federal agents invading and terrorizing your community, indiscriminately detaining and murdering citizens. If that is not the definition of patriotism, I don't know what is. These are not the leaders of tomorrow because they're shaping the world of today. They're done waiting their turn. If our generation is not given a seat at the table, we will pull up a chair, and Leaders We Deserve is there to help them with that. Us Americans, we do not compromise. We're not going to settle for a fraction of the American dream. We are here for the whole goddamn thing. We have worked for it, and we will not, and it will be delivered. Freedom is not strictly about just an abundance of opportunity, but the absence of compromise as well. We believe in an America where hard work doesn't come with the impossible decisions. For example, Nabila's constituents not having to choose between rent or their prescriptions, Not having Demi's neighbors choose between starving inside or getting terrorized by ICE and other fascists outside simply for going to the grocery store. We must reaffirm the motto of this great nation that has defined and, in my opinion, made Chicago my favorite city in America, by far. And it's highlighted well from everything from the Rainbow Coalition to all of the incredible different types of people that I meet every time I come here. That despite their backgrounds, despite their differences, despite where they come from and how long they may have lived here, or whether or not they just got here, are united under our nation's original founding motto that recognize the diversity of our country as the strength it always has been. E pluribus unum, out of many, one. We're supporting leaders that build back our house that is now divided. Now sit back and watch its demolition as we build something new. As I come to the gritty Midwest, home to our nation's, fiercest and most competitive political battles right now, I come to ask you that we keep moving forward together. Despite all the fighting you've done, it is not yet time to rest. None of us would be in this room if we didn't have faith in the outlook of our party. And that's the beauty of this country. Our shortcomings of the past do not define our future. And I refuse to buy into the idea that Republicans tell us that our greatest strength, which is our diversity, that our founders recognized in the form of the 13 colonies and their original founding motto, I refuse to believe that that greatest strength is a weakness. And I also refuse to believe the lie that says that the best is behind us and is still not yet to come in this country. That is inherently anti-American. One second, I'm finishing up. The bottom line is, do the right thing. Either do the right thing or face the electoral consequences, because there is a very angry and passionate base of Democrats here in Chicago, here to ensure that Democrats properly represent their constituents and not special interests, like AIPAC, like the corporations, and the other groups that continue to sell out the American dream to the highest bidder. Because if you continue to make that decision, just know, one day, those young people that stood up in this room, they will outlive most of the people in this room. They will outlive most of the members of Congress in this delegation. And guess what? They're not going to be owned by the same special interests. Thank you so much.
Let's give it up for David Hogg. So there are people in this room who do not agree with everything that man said. There are people in this room who are uncomfortable. And there are people in this room who have not felt heard until just right now. And I'm here to say that is okay, because this is America and this is democracy. And I will tell you, as a volunteer chair of a county Democratic organization, politics is about being uncomfortable and about hearing things that you do not always agree with, and about politics of addition and bringing people in and making sure that everybody feels heard in this party. We're going to recognize some individuals that do the work to help make sure we get Democrats elected across DuPage County.
Okay, most of us, I've been a Democratic Precinct Committee person for a very long time, and many of you in this room are Precinct Committee people. We do the hard work. We're walking to our neighbors. The precincts now number about 1,500 households. That's a lot of people, and it's not an easy task. And every year we recognize a PC from each of our 9 townships, as well as one PC of the year for DuPage County. And so I'm going to call the names of all the PC winners for each of the 9 townships, and then one of them will receive PC of the year. So I'm going to ask you to come to the stage if you're present tonight. Mandy Polchowski, Addison. Quinn Fulmer, Bloomingdale. Victor Borchak, Downers Grove. Sue Quigley, Lyle. Frank Merritt, Milton. Maggie Hernandez-Zayas, Naperville, my hometown. Greg Schwarzy, Wayne Township. Jennifer Scarpace, Winfield. And Joanne Tyree, York.
All right, our PC of the Year of DuPage County this year exemplifies grassroots leadership through her consistent dedication, reliability, and commitment to democratic values. She goes beyond the expectations of a PC by organizing, engaging, and mobilizing neighbors with energy, empathy, and purpose. Most notably, during the current delay in final ballots, she took the initiative to create sample ballots for all of Naperville townships, all 58 precincts, and helped several townships with a similar effort. Our Democratic DuPage County PC of the Year for 2026 is Maggie Hernandez-Zayas. Give it up.
Wonderful. Congratulations. You've done so much for all of us. She's good. Now we need to call Barb O'Mara up here and the raffle people.
Yep.
That's not on the sheets.
Is it next? Oh, no, there's more speakers.
Oh, yours?
Yep.
Do you want to recognize Stephanie Kiprudik?
Yep. I also like to recognize one state representative in the room that I forgot to recognize earlier, and I really apologize. Representative Stephanie Kiprudik is here, also a candidate for comptroller. All right, we have a few more speakers, and then we'll do the raffle drawing. Let's give a loud DuPage Dems welcome to our next speaker, Congresswoman and candidate for U.S. Senate, Robin Kelly.
Good evening, DuPage County Dems, and to the ones that are hanging in there and still here. Thank you to Reed and Diane for all of your hard work. I remember running in 2010, and DuPage was a rough county to run in, so I'm glad that you are Blue Page now. Give yourselves a round of applause. Following David is not easy. I work with David on March for Our Lives because I've done so much work around gun violence prevention, and I gave him some of his seed money to start Leaders We Deserve. And I heard a lot of clapping in this room for things he was saying, so I'm kind of diverting from what I was going to say. I'm the only candidate in this race, I won't say the only, one of the only, not taking AIPAC money. I'm the only candidate that signed Delia Ramirez's Block the Bomb. So when we talk about taking money out of politics, I am running against money and power. So I'm telling you, just because you have the most money doesn't mean you've done the most. Just because you have the most money does not mean you are the best candidate. And I'm gonna keep it short. If you want a workhorse, not a show horse, you want Robin Kelly. If you want someone transformative, not transactional, you want Robin Kelly. If you want someone like my Shiro, Shirley Chisholm, who was unbought and unbossed, you want Robin Kelly. If you want the author of the impeachment papers against Kristi Noem, you want Robin Kelly. No one is outworking me. No one is going to outwork me. I am an independent thinker, an independent Democrat, but a team player and someone that you can count on. And as someone named Nita Nelson has made shirts that say simply, Robin Kelly gets shit done, and that's me. Thank you.
Yes. Very nice. Our next speaker is candidate for U.S. Congress and Gala Gold sponsor, Joey Ruzovich. Let's hear it for him.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joey Rusevich. I am a software engineer running for Congress in this district, in the 6th District of Illinois. I would like to begin by actually thanking and congratulating my opponent, Representative Sean Casten, because in 2018, he actually flipped this district from red to blue, and that is a big accomplishment, and I give him all the credit for that. There is no doubt he was the right man for that moment in time. As much as I give credit for this, I would not be running in the Democratic primary if I felt things were going properly, or if I felt like he was the right leader for this moment in time. This political moment will go down in history. We as the public are staring down a massed militarized police force on our streets. We are dealing with a cost of living crisis and a wealth disparity that is greater than the Gilded Age. The ability to buy a home, start a family on a single income, the American dream is gone. And there are no signs that it is going to get better anytime soon. We also face a technological threat that is not just coming for our money, but for our humanity. Artificial intelligence and data centers exacerbate the climate crisis. They threaten our electricity bills, our fresh water resources, our jobs, and our children's safety. We are facing a moral crisis as well. The Democratic DuPage chair, Reed McCollum, called out and highlighted the suffering of the Palestinians in Gaza, and I commend him for doing so. The district we are in right now, District 6, contains the largest number of Palestinian Americans than any other district in the United States. This is number one. And I cannot imagine the anger of the Palestinian Americans who live in this district as they watch their congressmen continue to send money and weapons to the genocidal country, killing their families. Yes, Representative Casten was the right man for the job in 2018, but during his 8 years in office and the way that he treats his constituents, I no longer think that he is the right man for this moment in time. I believe I am. I want to dissolve ICE while he wants to try to reform it. I want universal health care while he wants incrementalism. I have a stronger and more progressive climate change policy, and as a software engineer, I have the technical expertise that he lacks to be able to regulate artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, recommendation algorithms, and social media. I will be one of the leaders that reforms the Democratic Party. I will not do it alone, and we know that David Hogg is a great leader already doing this work. We will work to remove the noose around the Democratic Party that is the billionaire donor class. And we will allow the Democratic Party to actually deliver for the people. Thank you very much. My name is Joey Rusevich. I'm running for District 6.
Yes, very nice. Thank you, Joey. Our next speaker bought his very own bus. He's been putting on more miles than a Greyhound. Welcome to the stage, candidate, U.S. Senate and Gala Gold sponsor, Kevin Ryan.
Good evening, DuPage County, and thank you for everyone who stayed. My name is Kevin Ryan. That's right. Thank you. I'm a Marine Corps veteran, a Chicago public school teacher, and a New Deal Democrat from a new generation running to make true what our textbooks teach, that our government derives its just powers from the consent of the governed, not the consent of billionaires, corporations, or moneyed interests who use their tremendous wealth to control our elections and shape our public policy. Instead of funding Medicare for all, universal child care, affordable housing, and public education, the tremendous wealth of our nation is hoarded by the top 1%. And then we watch helplessly as poverty crushes the working poor, our planet dies a slow death, and guns enjoy more protections than our own children. Make no mistake, billionaires, corporations, and moneyed interests do not donate to candidates, they invest in them. And they expect returns on those investments. If we truly live in a democracy, then any person, regardless of wealth or status, including a Chicago public school teacher, should have the ability to win public office based on their ideas, merits, morals, and character, not how many television ads they can purchase. That is not a democracy. That is an oligarchy. And so I have set out to prove through this campaign that the democracy I taught to my students is in fact real because I believe in that democracy, and I refuse to yield it to oligarchs, pessimists, or fascists. So I reject the money chase, the billionaires, the corporations, and special interests. I focus on voters, not donors. That is why I am the only candidate in this race to campaign in all 102 counties, including all 9 townships in DuPage County. Because if we want to take money out of politics, we need to elect people who reject money in politics. How can we expect candidates who are put into office by billionaires, corporations, and moneyed interests to disenthrall our democracy from the chains of billionaires, corporations, and moneyed interests? We cannot trust the people who delivered us to this crisis to save us from this crisis. In the words of Abraham Lincoln, the tired dogmas of the quiet past are inadequate to the stormy present. We must think anew and act anew, and that is what I invite each of you to do. Let us rise together, disenthrall our democracy from the gilded chains of the 1%. This is our moment. Do not let it pass us by voting for the status quo. Choose instead to act boldly and start by voting boldly for me. And together, let's make true what our textbooks teach.
Ah, yes. Kevin Ryan.
Okay, this is the last event of the evening, and I've got the best partner here, Barb O'Mara. I'm going to let her kind of start this.
All right, so last year we did a raffle 50-50 and we raised $550. And I said we could do better than that. So tonight, thank you to everybody that stopped when you walked in. We raised over $5,500 tonight. And we're going to draw a 50-50 raffle, and Diane's going to pull the ticket.
All right, I hope we can read it. All right.
Does it say Barb O'Mara? All right, it's Marcia Cassidy, I'd say. No, nice try. All right, well, she's going to get a call from us at the number that she gave us because you don't have to be present. But if anybody knows Marcia, let her know that she won, and we'll get the money to her. All right. Thank you, everybody, for showing up.
The bar closes at 9 o'clock, so you have 2 minutes. We have the room. Continue to mingle. Thank you all so much for coming to the DuPage Democrats Gala.
Marsha Cassidy is in the room. She's going to get her money.